Hey guys, I'm Jay, and today's knife, this is one that I have purchased and sold so many times. I just keep coming back to this knife, and for very good reason that we're going to get into right now. This is the Spyderco Sage V, and first let's go ahead and look at the specs, and then we will do the size comparison. So for those of you interested, good spot to pause. Let's go ahead and start with a fellow Spyderco knife, of course the PM2. Now this one's a little bit closer in size, and that is the Native 5. Here's the Kaiser Vanguard Dukes, and another Kaiser, the Gemini, and the Benchmade Bug Out, and then the 940, and now the last one is going to be Zero Tolerance, the ZT 0450. Now, starting with the blade, you are looking at 3.03 inch spear, leaf, drop point, whatever you want to call it. The blade steel is going to be CPM S30V, which is fantastic material. It features a full flat ground blade with a really nice satin finish. The blade stock's thickness is right at 3 millimeters. And if you see here on the left, I've brought in the Native 5 just for comparison's sake, and you can see how quickly the blade of the Native 5 like tapers down to that fine tip, and the Sage 5 just kind of holds that 3 millimeter thickness down towards the tip. Now at the widest point of the blade, so from spine to sharpened edge, is 1.15 inches. The Sage 5 features a, well, let's call it partially jimped forward finger choil, and that choil, that is a characteristic that I've noticed that I'm now seeking out more and more in new knives that I purchase. There's going to be two methods of deployment here, either the thumb hole, of course, or just by simply actuating that compression lock, which, man, is that a good time. Now you're probably not going to be able to see this, but the blade is in fact riding on bronze washers. Now I've heard conflicting reports regarding the strength of the detent, and I gotta say, at least for my example, oh yeah, that's pretty damn strong. I mean, I am unable to shake this open. The action out of the box was absolutely fantastic. Now, once deployed, the compression lock, it's locking up at about 25%. Even as a left-handed individual, the compression lock is very, very easy to get at that tab, which I think is probably one of the reasons why I keep coming back to this knife, because I was able to perfect my left-handed technique for operating the compression lock. Now I just want to bring you in close here so you can see the centering on mine. It isn't perfect, but it's pretty close. I really like this effective, very effective jimping that appears in 3 areas. So on the, if you can see there on the blade spine, so, or also commonly known as the thumb ramp, on the spine of the handle, at the pivot, and one more place. Oh yeah, you can see that on the forward finger choil. Now let's move on down to the handle, and as you can see now, without choking up, so without utilizing that forward choil, I can fit all of my fingers on here rather comfortably on this 4.17 inch long handle. The scales are simply G10 with just that carbon fiber laminate over them. The fit and finish is just excellent, and the grip is just super comfortable. I mean, there's absolutely no sharp edges anywhere on this handle. The blade is another story, but we'll get to that. The G10 and carbon fiber, that provides some really nice, just subtle texture that adds some really good traction. And I really like that the finish on these scales is more of a matte as opposed to, oh, I don't know, the shinier look that you see here on the liner lock version of the Sage. This is very, very easy to disassemble with only just the two body screws and of course the pivot. Let's talk about this now in the pocket. And I am just a huge fan of this deep carry wire clip. It is just very, very discreet, and that's going to be just tip up only for righties, switchable for lefties. The closed width here, so how much room that this is actually going to take up in your pocket. Now it is over that 1.5 inch threshold, just by a little bit at 1.54. But you know, I mean, you guys know that's the deal with the Spyderco knives. Now the handle thickness, on the other hand, is a very impressive 0.43 inches, so well under that half-inch mark. Now before we go ahead and toss this up on the scale, I just want to go ahead and show you that yes, this is in fact open construction with just the two barrel spacer, and that third thing you're seeing there is going to be the lanyard tube. Now if you take a look on the inside, hopefully you can see, yep, there it is. The liner is in fact skeletonized in an effort to reduce weight, and let's see how Spyderco did with that. They did really, really good. 3.1 ounces, which is going to be roughly, give or take, let's see, that's a bit light, about 4 AA batteries, or almost the exact same weight as the ZT-0450. And as long as I have this out, I just want to quickly point out that I have previously reviewed this knife. If at the end of the video you look up to the corner, go ahead and click on the icon, and you can watch my full review of this zero tolerance ZT-0450. Oh, hey guys, really quick, go ahead and click on that subscribe button if you're looking for knife reviews that get right to the point. And if you enjoyed this video and you got any value from it, how about a thumbs up? Thanks, guys. Now, unfortunately, we do have to go ahead and discuss some of the potential deal breakers, and I'm going to go ahead and start with, well, at least the most obvious one to myself, and that being that this knife really is designed for a right-handed individual. I mean, I was able to kind of perfect a technique for operating it left-handed, but I really just wish that Spyderco would make a lefty version like they did here with the Paramilitary 2. Next is going to be regarding the handle scale material. I know a lot of you just don't like the G10 with the carbon fiber laminate, and I get it. I mean, it doesn't really bother me too much, but I know that it does bother others. The Spidey hole, not that this is any kind of a new discovery, but it is pretty darn sharp. I mean, it's almost like a cigar cutter or something like that. Fourth potential deal breaker is going to be regarding that closed width, so the amount of room that this takes up in your pocket. I mean, it is just a little over 1.5 inches at 1.54, but it's a little wide. And the last potential deal breaker has to be that $150 price tag. That's a lot of money. So where does that leave us with the Spyderco Sage V? Well, this blade, whatever shape that you would like to call this, whether it's a spear point or leaf or drop point. It is just an excellent slicer. I mean, it just rips through material like nothing. Now, if you are not crazy about the compression lock, that is okay, because you can get this, and we've already talked about the liner lock that you see here. There's also there's a frame lock, and the very hard to find bolt lock and back lock versions. And of course, you guys know by now, I have a question for you. There's something I need you to help me out with. So in the comments section down below, where you can leave your answers, which Sage do you own? Do you have the compression lock version, or do you have the liner lock? Or, I mean, if you're planning on getting a Sage, which one would it be? Let me know. Comment section below. And to be honest, I honestly don't have a problem with the $150 price. I really do think that that's fair. I mean, of course, lower is always going to be better, but let's say if you compare this to the Para 3, which sells for, I've seen it like $115, $120, and the Para 3 has very similar materials. And so when you're comparing that knife to the Sage 5, this is going to just seem like, well, less of a value. But you have to keep in mind, with the Para 3, you pretty much have to get an aftermarket deep carry pocket clip, which that is really going to push the price up to, you know, Sage 5 territory, seeing that if you spend, let's say, $25-30 on that aftermarket clip. So now the big question that I am going to start ending all of my videos with: if I lost this, would I replace it? Well, I think I already hinted to that at the beginning of the video. Yes, I would, because I have.